Good evening, Rams. My name is Ren Wadsworth, and welcome to the final installment of Right Now With Ren. Tonight we'll look at COVID-19, how it impacted campus life, and how research at CSU helped in pandemic aid. Then we'll take a look at the end of the year at CSU and what graduating Rams should expect. And Emily Kozel will give you a rundown of CSU men's rugby. And stay tuned for the end of the show for a special send-off. All this on Right Now with Ren, which starts right now. Since its emergence in the U.S. in early 2020, COVID-19 brought up many new challenges for everyone worldwide. Since the spring of that year, online schooling became a normality. Both students and faculty were required to practice education in a virtual setting, no matter their age. After 2 years of case fluctuation and transitions between online and in-person education, it seems like things are slowly returning to how they once were. However, there's still over 81 million cases in the U.S., and the numbers are still slowly rising. The need to get the virus under control included research done right here at Colorado State University. The school is home to a wide array of scientific specialities across its campus. This includes biologists, immunologists, virologists, and pathologists. That diversity in specialities allowed for opportunities at the university to research and attempt to combat COVID-19 in both humans and animals. And while head of the Department of Microbiology, Immunology, and Pathology, Greg Dean, believes that another large surge of COVID is highly likely, he also believes his lab and team are prepared to continue to combat COVID.
Right. So when COVID emerged, we were really well positioned to consider how we could address the problem. It was pretty exciting to see how everybody responded. So again, we have virologists, we have people who work on vaccines, on antiviral drugs, on disease transmission, animal reservoirs. So everybody, regardless of what they had been working on previously, really started to look at what role could they play to address these important issues that we were facing, again, globally and locally.
Two postdoctoral researchers from the Greg Ebel Lab, which focuses on arthropod-borne and infectious diseases, have also been studying and testing potential COVID cures since the start of the pandemic.
I don't know, I guess, well, let's see. So I think our lab was in a unique position. There were a lot of labs that wanted to be able to contribute when the pandemic hit, and they just didn't have the types of resources or technology or things to be able to do that. And I think our lab was in a unique position because we have the types of like physical robots and machinery that we use to test really large number of samples, which makes it possible for us to test, hundreds and thousands of samples a week. And so it was great that we were able to transition and apply that to help with the pandemic.
When COVID really first started to become a pandemic, the testing was failing pretty horribly. But we have all of the people, the skills to do that. So we paired with some other people at CSU to start testing in the skilled nursing facilities, since they're the ones at the biggest.
These were just a small sample of experts who worked around the clock to help stop the spread of a global pandemic. When we come back, I'll be joined by Collegian reporter Noelle Mason. Together, we'll discuss research done here at CSU. Then we'll transition into what graduating Rams can expect for this year's ceremony. For now, Kristen McAllister is up next with weather.
Living with someone you don't know on the other side of the wall is hard, especially if you don't know how to be a good roommate. The first thing that you'll want to do to be a good roommate is make sure that you always stay quiet. Be considerate of others when using common spaces and appliances.
Hey buddy, what you doing?
I'm just gonna need like 40 minutes. Be respectful of your roommate's privacy.
Ugh,
my bad. Finally, make sure that you clean up after yourself. Oh, fresh toothbrush.
Have you seen my toothbrush?
Follow these tips to get along with your roommates and your landlord.
Good evening, Rams. My name is Kristen McAllister, and I'm here tonight to give you the weather forecast for this evening. Starting off in Fort Collins, we are sitting at a lovely 53 degrees. The sunset, if you want to watch it, hang out for a little bit longer because it will be happening at 7:58 later this evening. Humidity at 63%, so not anything too crazy, but it will be feeling a little bit more moist out there than we're probably typically used to. And a slight breeze coming in at 8 miles per hour for your wind. And now looking at what the temperatures are going to be like tonight across the state. In Fort Collins, and as we move down the I-25 corridor, we're going to remain in the low 40s, as we move into the western side of the state, starting off with Craig at 30 degrees over in the north, and slowly lowering in temperature as we move down towards the state. You can see Alamosa is indicated in red. This does mean that we will have a red flag warning for Alamosa, so that just means that there are a lot of conditions that will that are really indicative for fires to be happening. So if you're planning on having a fire, maybe consider moving it to a different night when there are as high of wind speeds. And as we look into the eastern side of the state, sitting at 30s for the most part, but raising a little bit warmer in Lamar at 44 degrees. And now as we look at the rest of the week for Fort Collins, again, it'll be a little bit cool tomorrow at 55 degrees as our high, 37 as the low. We will expect some rain showers, but there's only a 60% chance of rain. So maybe not grab your rain jacket out quite yet, but just be aware. And then as we start to move into the rest of the week, it will start to warm up starting on Thursday at 70 degrees for the high. And then it'll get beautiful. 79 degrees for both Friday and Saturday, cooling down a little bit to 73 on Sunday, but generally staying in those upper 70s for the rest of the week. I personally cannot wait. Well, Rams, that is all of the weather that I have for you tonight, but stay tuned for a very exclusive interview with Ren after the break.
Queen is just my everything.
His smile did it. His smile, his eyes, his knowledge. My landlord, he decided that he wanted me to move based on the fact that I was transgender. Let's just respect people in everyday life for just being human.
Welcome back from the break, Rams. Once again, I'm Ren Wadsworth, and I'm joined by award-winning collegiate reporter, Noelle Mason.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. So just to jump right into it, I understand you did a piece that won you an award about research at CSU, and I was just wondering what some of your takeaways from that were.
Sure. So this piece was actually, I wrote about a year ago, but I think the main takeaway is that CSU is an incredible research university. We were really well positioned for a huge number of researchers to be able to continue their research and pivot what they were studying to something new to be able to help with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, do you think we were better adept than some other schools, maybe?
Yes, I definitely think so. I think CSU being a Tier 1 research university allowed so many, like a super abnormally high number of researchers to be able to conduct research on COVID-19, whether that is COVID testing, COVID transmission, vaccine candidates. There was a ton of variety in what people were studying already, and they were well positioned to be able to continue their research and transition it to COVID applications.
Yeah. Do you think that the studies that were being done here at CSU had a large impact on COVID-19?
Yes, I do think that the studies being done here had a large impact on COVID-19. I think the most impactful study, something that we saw on campus pretty much right away as the year continued was the on-campus testing. That was something that I think was pretty unique to CSU, as well as being able to do those, have that testing progress throughout the entire pandemic. So it was several different modes, and that was being continually researched as we were conducting our school year.
Yeah. So what made you want to cover the topic of research around COVID-19 at CSU?
I thought that would be an interesting topic for an article because research does not get communicated a whole lot. I feel like research has a very niche audience of scientists, and the public is not super aware of things that are going on, not behind closed doors. It's totally available to the public. But I think generally the student body and the greater public are not aware of research that's going on, especially research that's super relevant and impactful to our lives.
All right. So moving into my last question and getting a little more personal here, I just was wondering how COVID impacted your life, if you feel comfortable enough to share.
For sure. So I think I'm not alone when I say we all had mental health struggles. I definitely felt sort of a lack of connectedness to the student body coming back to campus this year and not being able to come back last year. So I think definitely we all experienced similar things, but different in our own different ways, but it definitely impacted my life.
Yeah, I definitely think it impacted a lot of students' lives,
sure.
Unfortunately. But thank you so much for coming in today, Noelle.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, of course. It was great having you on.
Thanks so much.
As I just discussed with Noelle, another thing that COVID largely impacted, along with the school year and students' lives, is graduation. For nearly 2 years, students were not able to have an in-person ceremony for their graduation. This can be discouraging to students who want to see their work and accomplishments celebrated by their friends and family. This year, however, marks the first time students have had an in-person graduation since the start of the pandemic. CSU's Moby Arena won't just be home to basketball games. In less than 2 weeks, the building will be occupied once again for commencement. With the semester's clock ticking down, some Rams might be wondering where their caps and gowns are. I know I am. But Rams need not fret anymore because regalia will be available for pickup at GradFest. GradFest will be held next Wednesday and Thursday from 8 in the morning till 5, and on Friday from 8 till 7:30. Students will be required to pick up all of their graduation apparel at the Iris and Michael Smith Alumni Center, located on Pitkin next to the stadium. Additional rings, stoles, and other apparel will be available for purchase at the fest as well. Director of Annual Giving and Membership Haley Katz explained the differences and significances of the gown and tassel colors you may see during graduation. Students will wear tassels representing the school of their primary major, and while most students will be in black robes, you may spot gold gowns for Latin with distinction and green robes for the university's honors program. One of the scariest things about graduating can be separating yourself from the school and shedding your title of RAM and moving on to alum. Luckily, the Alumni Association at Colorado State University has a plan for transitioning students into new young alumni. There's a building on Colorado State University's campus that many students have probably never stepped in. But as the semester winds down at CSU, the Alumni Association is just gearing up.
CSU knows that we support students so well coming into school, and my role is to figure out how we support you going out of school. And so a lot of that looks like one-on-one meetings, conversations about career resources, or connecting with a RAM network if you're moving out of state. How do we plug you into engagement opportunities, whether those be in person or virtual?
Everyone who has graduated CSU becomes an alum, but many Rams may not even know about the Alumni Association. We're experiencing some technical difficulties tonight. To see this full story, make sure to tune into CTV's YouTube channel later this week. But congratulations to all graduating seniors. And as we move into the end of the semester here at CSU, we also move into the end of Right Now with Ren. Before we get to that, though, Emily Kozel will bring you the last Tuesday night sports by discussing how the men's rugby team competed in their recent tournament. And tune in after sports as well for a special in-studio interview. All this coming up.
Awkward. Do I look familiar? I should. You might remember me from here. Here. Or maybe even here. But an awkward silence can be a great thing. It can actually be a perfect moment to reach out to a friend and ask if they're okay if they seem down. It doesn't matter how you say it.
You all right?
Everything's okay?
All G?
You all right, girl?
Oh,
You cool?
you bugging dog.
Just show you're there for them. Go on, Kelly. Susie awkward.
Hey, you haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
What's up, Ram fans? Welcome back to Tuesday Night Sports for, I can't believe I'm saying this, the final Tuesday Night Sports wrap-up of the semester. Man, time flies. But anyways, I'm your host, as always, Emily Kozel, here to close the semester and spring out right by taking a deep dive into the world of CSU's men's rugby, where I'll fill you in on everything you need to know about the squad and how you can really show them support as they close their season and beyond. So with all that being said, let's just jump right in. Like I just touched upon, over the weekend, Rams Rugby traveled up to Wyoming to play in their third tournament of the year. And I have to say, being there in person made it a lot of fun to watch, thanks to all the great competition going on between the four teams in this local matchup, which was made up of course, CSU, as well as in-conference rivals Utah State and Wyoming, and also Montana State. Let's take a look at how they did.
As the school year comes to an end, so does the spring rugby season. I sat down with a couple of players to learn just how the team runs and what makes them so special.
We're on the field about 3 times a week, saying 5 to 7, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then on Tuesdays we'll usually do a pretty intense conditioning session just to keep our fitness up.
This D1 club team is full of committed players that love the game of rugby. But to them, it's so much more than that.
It's like a friendship, more than anything. We're here to support each other in all things we do on the field and off the field. It's about, we take care of each other. We make sure, everyone's doing okay. We just want to make sure everyone's happy and living their best life.
Just how close all the guys are, just all the stuff we do outside of just practice and games, just we all hang out, and it just, it's been a really fun community to be a part of.
The friendships you build by playing rugby is great. It's one of the best things I've ever experienced.
The connection between the players and the coaches is very apparent when you watch them play. Just last weekend, they traveled up to Wyoming for a tournament and were able to win the entire thing. Being a club team makes it harder to reach Ram fans. If you'd like to support the rugby team, they have their last home tournament of the season on Saturday, May 7th.
Oh yeah, big tourney coming up, come out to support the boys. We're hoping to win, pull it up, come out with a dub. It's gonna be fun.
Let's go, boys.
We love to have the fans out. I'd say we get a fairly decent amount of fans, but we'll always accept anyone who wants to come and support us because we love the support.
The tournament will start at 9 in the morning on the IM fields. And if you're hoping to be a part of the team, there will be tryouts held in the fall.
I had such a fun time getting to know this great group of guys over the weekend. And speaking of fun, the rugby team wanted me to let you know that they're always looking for new faces to join the Brotherhood, no matter the time of year. So if you're at all interested, you can find all of the info you need to know about getting involved at the Rec Center website under the Club Sports section. And now with that being said, I'm so excited to see them in action once again this weekend, but this time right here on campus. So yeah, there's no excuse not to be there. Well, and with that, Ram fans, that's all the sports action I have for you tonight. Thank you all so much for welcoming me with open arms every single Tuesday as I broke down everything from CSU men's rugby to basketball on a weekly basis. And, well,
As my first semester here at CTV was so memorable. Thank you guys. I'm not done just yet though. Stay tuned for yet another exclusive interview right here after the break.
Queen is just my everything. Right now, I wouldn't know where my life would be without her.
They say chivalry is dead. It's not. Terrence is a gentleman. He opens doors. His smile did it. His smile, his eyes, his knowledge. My landlord, he decided that he wanted me to move based on the fact that I was transgender. It takes me to a place of no hope. It takes me to a place of loneliness. It saddens me. When you discriminate against somebody in housing, where do these people go? Let's just respect people in everyday life for just being human.
Welcome back from the break, Rams. I'm Robbie Patla, and I'm joined by your Tuesday host, Ren Wadsworth. Even though Ren has provided you with all the Tuesday news over the last month, I thought it was only fair to talk about her own experience at CSU over the last 2 years. How does it feel?
Being on the other side?
Yeah.
A little nerve-wracking. Palms are sweating, knees weak.
I feel that being back on camera is kind of interesting myself, so hey, it's kind of exciting. So Ren, since you talked to Noelle about how COVID affected students at CSU, I wanted to ask how it affected you here.
Yeah, so I think COVID-19 and the entire pandemic kind of taught me to not wait, and stop kind of being hesitant if there's something you want to do or someplace you want to be or a job you want to have. I don't know, whatever it is. I think coronavirus, at least for me, really taught me that nothing is guaranteed. And I don't know, that's how it impacted me mostly.
For sure. Would you say that in some aspects COVID may have given you opportunities to try new things or kind of benefited you in any way?
Yeah, I definitely think it was beneficial. I think it was a time to pause and kind of recollect and think about what you want in life. Not to get super philosophical here, but I do think it had some benefits. It had a lot of drawbacks, but I think at the end of the day, you got to take the good for the bad, and I think there was some benefits to COVID.
Yeah, I also agree. I think some benefits. It wasn't the best by any means, but we made it work. Starting college and COVID was not the best thing, but we're here now. And so I wanted to ask you. This is kind of an open-ended question, but if COVID had never happened, where do you think, how do you think they would have been different, or where do you think you would be by now?
I think I would have been at CSU regardless. I started before the pandemic. I kind of had a nice little sandwich deal. I got to start and end my college career, not coronavirus, I guess, kind of. So I think I'd still be at CSU, but I think, again, I wouldn't have taken as many risks or done as many things as early as I did, just because, you always think you have time, but when coronavirus happened, you kind of realized, oh, maybe I don't have time. It might be now or never to do this thing.
Yeah, of course. Another open-ended question I wanted to ask you. When you think about the last 4 years here, I know it's been a long time. There's been a lot of things you've encountered, a lot of news stories, and a lot of coverage of different topics. But when you think back at your time here at CSU, what has been your greatest triumph?
Whew, that's a big question. My biggest triumph. I don't know. I think one of the biggest triumphs is just getting to be an independent person, going to college and paying for college by yourself. I think it's a really humbling experience, and also a really triumphant experience to get to say, I did this by myself and I'm getting to graduate in a week, so.
Well, I wanted to see if I could add another triumph to that list. You have been my co-anchor and CTV partner for the last 2 years. And I wanted to personally come on the show and thank you for everything that you have done. I know it may not seem like it, but you were a role model for me. I started off as a live reporter, and then I got to sit on desk with you, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so experienced. How can I live up to this? But there was so much that you taught me just being on desk, just sitting here. And, even when I, became your producer, we were still collaborating on these shows, and we were right there. We were collaborating all the way, and there was just so much I learned, and I will never forget my first 2 years at CTV because of you. You've been such an inspiration to me, as I'm sure you've been an inspiration to anyone at CTV, and I just want you to know that your legacy here will live on, and wherever you end up, you're going to do amazing things.
You're going to make me cry, Robbie. Gosh.
Well, thank you so much, Ren, and thank all of you Rams once again for watching. I am Robbie Patla.
And for one last time at CTV, I'm Ren Wadsworth. Thank you for tuning in.